Hi, this is Randall here in Texas.
And I'm Matt, here in Michigan. Today, Randall and I are continuing our review of summer movie classics. And this one we're bringing out just in time for the 4th of July. It is Independence Day. Independence Day stars Will Smith, Bill Pullman, Jeff Goldblum, and is directed by Roland Emmerich. This is a movie that came out in 1996. You know, for the 4th of July, here in the U.S., we like blowing up fireworks and stuff. And in this movie, we get to blow stuff up, but aliens only. So, Randall, now watching it again, what do you think about Independence Day?
I love Independence Day. It's definitely a guilty pleasure film. Is it a great movie? No, it's not. But it's a fun movie to watch. I also like that it works, you know? So not every movie that's fun to watch necessarily works, but kind of like when we looked at Tremors, this movie just came together right. It had the right characters, the right actors to play those characters. It had the right character moments. Everyone acts as you expect them to act given the situation they're in for the most part. This movie is great, and to put like a little look back on it, I think is worth it because you mentioned it comes out in 1996. We had never really seen this kind of destruction on the big screen like this before. Now it's very commonplace. You know, you have your Marvel movies that blow up a city every other day. This was new. This was something that we didn't really have until Independence Day came out. So it was definitely a novelty at the time.
One thing you're saying, too, is like, what I was thinking about watching this. You're right. We have had a whole bunch of movies since then where everything gets blown up, but that wasn't the focus of this movie. Like you said, there's so many of these other elements are so good. The acting is so good, and one thing that I try to look at for movies, like to tell like a good movie, is like, do you make me feel something when I watch it? And this movie does. This movie hits on the good beats. There's parts in this movie where you laugh, but then again, too, it's not like a lot of current movies where they use laughter to just break up, serious moments kind of thing. They give you the serious moments. They give you the laughs in this one, which, like you said, it makes it fun. This is a fun movie to watch. But then again, too, it also gives you those, the big president speech, by Bill Pullman. He plays the president in this one. President Lone Star. No, I'm kidding. That's a different one. But no, he has his big speech in this one, and that was kind of a joke too to a lot of other movies. Afterwards, a lot of people pointed to this movie. It's like, oh, here comes the big speech part of the movie.
Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
Godspeed and good luck to you.
We will no longer tolerate and we will no longer be afraid.
And heroes die, but they are remembered.
Comes the big president's speech. Yes, the president's big speech. Oh yeah, and really, like you were saying, like they let the serious parts in this movie be serious parts without having to break them up. So after the initial attack by the aliens show up, and humans, we don't really know that they're being hostile, but we have this kind of like, well, they've positioned their ships all over major cities, so there's something to it. That's taken very seriously, and there aren't a lot of jokes at the onset. And then after that initial attack, you get the scenes on Air Force One where everyone's really in a bad state. They let that be serious, but they also have these scenes where it's fun, where it's like Will Smith predominantly. He's like, "Oh, you want to see my clearance?"
Maybe I'll just leave this here with you.
Let him pass.
Or when he runs his jet into the canyon, and he blows up it doesn't really blow up the alien ship, but he causes it to crash, so that way he can actually do something. He goes, "Wait till I get another jet.
I'm lighting all your friends out right beside you."
I could have been at a barbecue. Like, they do have those, but they're within the context and within that character to do that. That's how they establish that character. They let the serious moments be serious, and they let these funny moments be funny.
You're talking about like Will Smith. I really like Will Smith's character and stuff in this. Captain Stephen Hiller. But then again, too, I mean, you and I we liked kind of like the fighter pilots and stuff growing up. Kind of like you get like the Top Gun, the Star Wars, kind of feel and stuff with the space battles and stuff too. And it's just great character. This fighter pilot for the Marines who wants to, be an astronaut kind of thing, applies to NASA,
Dude,
but is too scared to actually
You're
see
never
the letter.
gonna fly the shuttle if you're marrying a stripper.
Man, you never gonna get to fly the space shuttle if you marry a stripper.
I like Jasmine, but you're never gonna fly. They're never gonna let you fly the shuttle. And, Vivica A. Fox does a really great job as Jasmine, too. She might be, like, the most wholesome, maybe, character in there, the stripper, and yet she's the one that is picking up everyone on her way, to try to find her boyfriend. She isn't just like, oh, I gotta find Steven, I gotta get to the base to make sure he's alive. She's stopping to help everyone that she comes across, kind of thing too. She, they're both characters that you definitely root for in this movie, Stephen Hiller and Jasmine.
As the movie progresses, so, you have the initial attack where it's devastating, and then we launch a counterattack, which is where you get Stephen Hiller, and they find out that the aliens have impenetrable shields, which makes sense for the context of an alien species that just traveled across the stars, And we're just decimated, like a worldwide counteroffensive, just decimated, and then the ships, they just go about destroying everything, and the situation gets more and more desperate as things go on, and then you start to see this, like the butting heads of Jeff Goldblum's character with Bill Pullman, who plays the president, and his ex-wife, Connie, right? Connie?
I believe it's Connie. Yeah, she's the press secretary or whatever for the
press
president.
Secretary, and the president makes a really hard decision where he's like, well, we've kind of exhausted all of our things, and we're gonna nuke the aliens, and that pisses off Jeff Goldblum because he's a environmentalist and he's all about saving the world, which will come back later, as a joke.
You know how I'm always trying to save the planet? There's my chance.
But this film does a really good job with its characters. They act as you expect them to act. The president is desperate. He's going to order a nuclear strike because that's kind of like the last-ditch effort,
Well, that was the thing, too, that they really build up that character right from the beginning. He is seen as a president that, he was a fighter pilot, but since being president, he hasn't done anything of note. At least that's what he's being portrayed, by the newspapers and stuff, and the television shows when we begin this show. So it kind of shows, he does that as like a last resort. Another thing that I liked about this movie is kind of showing how we were unaware by starting off like everyone like sleeping at the beginning of this movie. Like when the aliens show up, everyone is sleeping, which to me, I didn't really notice that before, but it kind of gives that feel that, hey, we're not ready for this invasion. Everyone's just waking up to this arrival kind of thing, just to kind of show that, we were asleep before this happened.
The beats of this movie go on, and what it's nice about it is it's a traditional framework. It's got a beginning, a middle, and an end, and a climax. So, and all the characters come together at Area 51, which, as it turns out, is totally an alien confinement center, just like way below, the Earth, dug way into the bedrock, and you get Brent Spiner coming in, playing a wacky-doo scientist.
Mr. President.
Wow. As you can probably guess, they don't let us out much. That explains a lot about his character.
My God, it's the president. But and it's where they come up with this plan, and this is the big thing that everyone always talks about with this movie. Well, Independence Days are lots of fun and to watch, and it's really good, except for this one plot hole. Well, here's the thing. I don't watch the theatrical cuts of movies very often. I go straight for the extended editions, and that's fixed in the extended edition. There is no plot hole.
See these patterns here, they're repeating sequentially, just like their countdown signal. They're using that frequency for computer communications.
Huh?
See? That's how they're coordinating their ships.
Oh my god, why did you cut that? That would have... Oh, that one single line explains away your plot hole, and your whole movie would have been, like, not remembered for this giant plot hole of Jeff Goldblum's Macintosh being able to interface with the alien technology. You know?
Let's talk about Jeff Goldblum in this. He plays Dr. Ian Malcolm, a mathematician. Oh, no, wait, that is a different film with Jeff Goldblum in it. No, in this one, he plays David, and he works for, like, a cable company or whatever, and he just happened to, stumble on the signal from the ships because they noticed that their own satellites were getting interference. So he just wanted to see what the interference was and realized that it was this code that was repeating and stuff that was coming from the alien mothership. But it's kind of funny. I kind of get the two characters. I wouldn't say mixed up, but I just think they're similar because of one part. In Jurassic Park when he's riding on the back of the Jeep and he's like the
must
T-Rex
go faster.
like, must go faster, must go. And then in this one too, he does like the exact same thing.
Must go faster.
Must go faster. Go, 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 go.
I don't think that that's by mistake. I think that that's on purpose, but could be. And, and then they upload a virus to the mothership, which, again, there's not a plot hole if you watch the extended edition. And that allows them to actually get to the climax of the film where they can actually take all of the shields down. Like, we can hurt these vessels as long as they don't have shields, because they're still bound by physics, which is something that tons of science fiction movies, specifically monster science fiction movies, always forget about. Physics still exist. So if you have some sort of energy dissipation shielding, which we haven't quite figured out, but like theoretically is possible, that makes sense. But without that shielding, an explosion is still an explosion. And it can harm these ships. So they've put together a ragtag group of all of the finest Vietnam veteran fighter pilots and Randy Quaid.
With you? Me?
And they go about doing this final last-ditch attack on the aliens. And, of course, the movie ends happy. They take the alien weapon out. Randy Quaid's character takes the alien weapon out. And they found out that, this is how you destroy them. There's so much energy tied up into the shooting of the weapon that if you can destroy it when it's in its firing phase, that it'll basically blow up all of the little destroyer ships. It works. It's like the weapon that destroyed us, we can use to destroy you,
Another thing I would mention, another reason to go see the extended cut is I think it really plays up more on Randy Quaid's character being kind of like that screw up, kind of like a deadbeat father almost kind of thing. And then it just adds to his sacrifice. This is him, making that selfless act or whatever to save his family, save everyone and save his family kind of thing. It's his redemption.
There is a lot more to Randy Quaid's character in the extended cut versus the theatrical cut. A lot more.
And I enjoyed it. It enhanced that story for me and stuff.
Now, I'll admit, the extended cut's like 2.5 hours long, but the movie's already long. I think it's like 2:15 or something, or 2:10-ish, if you just watch it in the theatrical cut, and I think that it adds a whole bunch more. So if you are going to go back and watch this, which I highly recommend if you haven't seen it, this is a great Independence Day, 4th of July movie to just kick back and relax on this weekend with. So make sure to give it a rewatch if you get a chance.
I agree. There's a reason it's a classic and why, people have watched it so many times. And for those that have watched it a lot of times, it's like, I've seen it all. If you haven't seen the extended cut, then watch the extended cut. What do you guys think about Independence Day? Randall and I would like to know. Leave us some comments below and we'll respond to them. Check out some of our other reviews that we've done too. We've done some other summertime classics and we have some more big ones coming up. So be sure to stay tuned for those. Be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to see more of our videos. We also post stuff on social media to let you know what we will be working on next. For now, I'm Matt here in Michigan. Have a great day.
And I'm Randall here in Texas. See everyone later.
Next time on No Market Media. Please consider checking out some of our other videos.